Welcome to the New Heights Show on Education. I'm Pamela Clark, founder and director of the New Heights Educational Group, and I'm here with David Smith, the founder of Silicon Valley High School, who has helped us get these podcasts produced and delivered to you.
Yes, Pamela, when we saw the great things that you and your army of volunteers were achieving at New Heights, we wanted to get involved. We're happy to work with you to leverage the internet and make quality education accessible and affordable to everyone, everywhere.
Thank you, David. We appreciate Silicon Valley High School helping us to get these podcasts out to the hundreds of thousands of listeners from all over the world. So I hope you enjoy the show.
In this week's episode, we will discuss education reform on mission.
Hello, everyone. This is Danielle Washington coming to you live from Ms. Buffie Williams' office. We're just sitting around thinking about life and trying to become better people tonight, so check us out. Welcome back. You're on the air with Buffie Williams, and you have been listening to the New Heights Show on Education. We have been discussing the show's purpose on mission.
Good evening, everyone. This is your host, Buffie Williams, and you're listening to the New Heights Educational Group, the New Heights Show on Education. Tonight's topic is the Federal TRIO programs. But as usual, I'd like to recap a little bit from last week's show. On last week, we discussed school safety and the role that the Federal Commission on School Safety played in regulations for school systems. But tonight, we want to talk about a program that is near and dear to my heart. And I know that many of my listeners may have similar views about federal TRIO programs, and some may differ from my views, but let us hear your thoughts and call us at 917-948-7542. Or you can post your comments on Twitter at Buffy_Williams or on Spreaker. Remember that my fellow New Heights Educational Group host, Erica Hansen, show airs on Thursdays at 2 o'clock p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 1 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you've listened to my intro show, one of the things that I talked about on that particular show was the fact that I worked in the field of education in the Federal TRIO program. I initially started working with the program with the Upward Bound program during an internship, and then I was employed by Abraham Baldwin Agricultural College in Tifton, Georgia, to also work with an Upward Bound program. And when I returned to the Troy, Alabama area, I started working with a Student Support Services program, which is also TRIO. And so one of the things I wanted to spotlight about TRIO was the nature of its history. And the history of TRIO first began with Upward Bound, and it was a part of the Economic Opportunity Act of 1964. And it was in response to the War on Poverty by President Lyndon Johnson. And in 1965, they established the Talent Search Program, which was the second outreach program that worked with low-income and first-generation college students. So originally, of course, there was Upward Bound, and then there was the Talent Search Program. And it was created as a part of the Higher Education Act. And then in 1968, Student Support Services was established. And the original name for Student Support Services was the Special Services for Disadvantaged Students. But they later changed the name to Student Support Services. So around 1960, the term TRIO was coined to describe these particular federal programs. And again, that's Upward Bound, Talent Search, and Student Support Services. The fourth program to be established under the TRIO group was the Educational Opportunities Center, and training programs were the next thing to be implemented. And I'll talk a little bit about each one of these programs in a little bit of length so that you can get a greater understanding of which program targets which population of participants. And then after the training programs were initiated, the Ronald E. Postbaccalaureate Achievement Program was established, and then later on, the Upward Bound Math and Science Program, which addressed programs that were administered under the same regulations as the regular Upward Bound program. And then later on, they amended the Student Support Services Program to also include direct assistance in financial a type of financial aid, which is called grant aid for the student support services participants that were currently receiving federal Pell Grant at that particular time. And so the legislative requirements for federal TRIO programs can be found at the Higher Education, in the Higher Education Act of 1965, if you're looking for that information. But again, just to spotlight those 8 programs, their Educational Opportunity Center, Ronald E. McNair Postbaccalaureate Achievement Program, Student Support Services, Talent Search, training programs for federal TRIO staff, Upward Bound Math and Science, and Veterans Upward Bound. And one of the reasons why I wanted to spotlight these programs, I think that sometimes we may overlook the fact that there are large populations of disadvantaged students, indeed, in our educational system still today. Even though these programs were spotlighted in the Higher Education Act of 1965 and then started in 1964, we still have a large population of students that could benefit from these programs and do benefit from these programs every day. And the vast majority of the persons who actually work with the students who are in these federal programs are also first generation low income or have a disability. And so they can directly relate to the students and the things that they've been experiencing, maybe coming into the education field of higher education, or also just getting their secondary or post-secondary degree, and some of the challenges that are related with that, whether it be for their families, from an academic standpoint, or just understanding what their role is in the higher education or secondary education system and post-secondary education system. So the Federal TRIO program is an outreach for student services that are designed to identify and provide individuals with disadvantaged backgrounds with a large number of resources that include particular mandates under each legislation, depending on which program they're targeting. And so again, we're talking about low-income individuals, first-generation college students, and individuals with disabilities, just to help them through that academic pipeline from middle school to post-baccalaureate programs. TRIO, it also includes those training programs, like I said, and each year the professionals will receive additional supportive things to actually help them retain the students, professional development activities in their regional and state areas, and even on the national level. And it was a great experience for me. And so I'm hoping to be able to share more about the program with my listeners, so that if you're not actively involved with a TRIO program, or if you'd like to volunteer with a TRIO program, or if you fit the criteria and you feel like you may need some additional supportive services, then these would be the programs that you could reach out to, or you could actually look into schools that actually have these program service areas targeted, and hopefully talk with the staff at that particular program and maybe be able to be eligible to receive services. And so the first program that we talked about, Educational Opportunities Program, it provides counseling and information on college admissions to qualify adults who want to enter and continue in their program of post-secondary education. And so with that, they also provide financial and economic literacy to their participants, personal counseling, financial aid options, and the basic planning skills that they'll need in order to fill out the actual application. But the goal of the Economic Opportunity Center is to increase the number of adults who enroll in post-secondary education. So if you're an adult out there and you have not received your bachelor degree and you're interested in an educational opportunity center to kind of help you with everything that you need in order to qualify to enter into a post-secondary education program, then you would be looking for an educational opportunity program center. And, academic advice and personal counseling, as well as career counseling workshops, is a big draw because it gives you a segue into what you should be planning for, any personal needs that you may have, any academic advice regarding your instructors will be very helpful if you can gain that insight up front. They also help with college admissions, testing, and financial aid, and coordinating with the nearby post-secondary institutions, and just providing, educational and counseling services to also improve their financial and economic literacy in these areas. And they also work with, in addition to adults who have not entered into the post-secondary education, these adults can also be adults who have a disability, or they could be students of homeless children and youth who've been in the foster care system or are getting ready to age out of the foster care system. And so, again, that's the Educational Opportunity Center. So then the next program is the Ronald E. McNair Postbaccalaureate Achievement Program. And we generally in the field call it McNair for short because the title is so long. But this particular, and all of these programs are grant competition programs. And so they are awarded by the Department of Education. And of course, the Department of Education is my source again for this information that you're receiving tonight. But the McNair program prepares students for the doctoral studies through involvement with research and other scholarly activities. So the participants from disadvantaged backgrounds who have demonstrated a strong academic potential, they closely work with the staff in order to complete their undergraduate requirements and then encourage them to enroll into graduate programs and then track their progress through that advanced degree. And then also try to increase the attainment of their PhDs. And this is typically, again, the underrepresented segments of society. So the McNair program is specifically designed for you to enroll during your undergraduate years and have that program help you strengthen your research and scholarly activities so that when you go into your master's program or your graduate program, that you are equipped with the necessary tools in order to be successful once you get ready to attain your PhD. And they also host seminars and educational activities, as well as, they offer summer internships and opportunities for research, for them to present their research and scholarly work at different conferences, and also assist with financial economic literacy as well for their disadvantaged students. And typically,